Okay. As most of you know, I'm the new trustee in town. I'm the rookie and I'm learning the ropes. And we also ran on a platform. And when I asked for certain things to be put on the agenda, I was told they couldn't be put on the agenda. But to take this time when the trustees talk and say whatever I want to say at that point in time. And so that's basically where these comments are coming from. But we ran under the Bolingbrook United Party. And during the election, a lot of topics were brought up, a lot of concerns were discussed. And a lot of those issues apparently struck a chord with a lot of voters because I won my part of the election. Half the voters in this village said it's time for, at least for, if not a change, at least someone to start listening to their concerns. It was a hard-fought election, but myself and our slate have moved on and we want to get down to business. I wish I could say the same for everybody else that was involved in that election. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I know last month, at the end of the meeting, Mayor Clare mentioned that his family was maligned, especially regarding H2O. I checked with our slate and the people involved in our run, and no one in our slate maligned Mayor Clare's wife or his daughter or said anything negative about our Heart Even Outreach, which is a great organization. But again, the campaign is over with. We need to move on and do the work that we were assigned to do. That being said, I requested to have 2 items added to our agenda in today's meeting, and I assumed as a trustee, each and every one of us has the right to place things on the agenda. If any of the trustees feel a topic is important, it should be given at least some consideration, and if a motion is made and doesn't receive a second, so be it. At least our residents know someone is thinking of them and responding to their concerns. Granted, I'm new in this position. I'm learning what the proper procedures are. More by trial and error than anything else, because I really haven't been given any real direction. In my opinion, and that's only my opinion, the trustees should be the ones that set the tone for what's happening in the village, and it's up to the mayor to support the trustees in such a way. When I asked to place a couple of the items on the agenda, I was told by way of an email, that every item on the agenda apparently has to be approved by the mayor or it doesn't get on the agenda. As a village trustee, and for any of the trustees, I would think that we should have the ability to bring up topics that are important to us and the residents that we speak to. And as a trustee, we should have some say-so over topics that are put on the agenda. If it does not belong on the agenda, then suggest how to handle that and what are the alternative ways that we can address residents' concerns. And then when we do address those, look at the advantages, disadvantages, and then depending on whatever the decision is, relay that information back to you, our residents. One of the items I requested to be on the agenda was stuff that we talked about during the campaign at length and quite a bit. Another one is fairly new. The first thing I asked about was to take a vote to support the Paris Climate Change Accord in spite of what our president has done, and that the Village of Bolingbrook will follow its guidelines. So far, over 300 mayors committed their towns and their elected leadership to support the Paris Climate Change Accord, in spite of what is going on in Washington, D.C. As one of the top towns in Illinois, based on Money Magazine, why not stand up? Why not be a leader and announce that we're willing to follow this and show other cities in Illinois that this is the way to go? That we want to slow down global warming. We want clean air and water for ourselves, our families, and for all the people down the road. I was told by way of email, no real discussion or anything, is that I need to stop bringing national politics into our village. Climate control is a national issue, but it's also a local issue. We can't leave it alone. Having clean air, water, and quality of life to me is a local issue. About 3 weeks ago, this board received a letter from the EPA regarding a local business that's applying for a waiver to increase pollution levels. The business is requesting a permission to increase what they call volatile organic matter emissions from 1.2 tons to 4.0 tons. Now, to me, that's a 300% increase. But the letter said it's a slight, small increase. Doesn't sound like it. Doesn't sound like that to me at all. It also sounds like this is a local concern and not a concern that Washington, D.C. will handle for us. And I guess I don't know who from our board or that is representing or talking to the EPA in regards to that issue. We also had in one of our meetings prior to this one tonight, which we talked about buying a new vehicle for public works. And one of the arguments for doing so is the other vehicles are older, emission control, and things like that. And we're making a recommendation to the board to go ahead and purchase that vehicle. But all of that's related to air, water, and quality control. And I would rather be one of the leaders and not one of the 19,000 cities who haven't voted yes. And basically the argument was, well, until the other 19,000 cities vote for it, why should Bolingbrook vote for it? We need to be concerned about what's going on in our village with air, water, and land pollution. The second thing on the agenda was I asked, and during our campaign, we talked about an economic development program to address the concerns many of you have over empty storefronts, depleting conditions of some of our strip malls, and so forth. I suggested during the campaign that we need someone working on our behalf to push for businesses other than the retail sector to start filling these empty buildings and storefronts. I labeled it, Economic Development Office, but it doesn't have to be called that. How it's structured, how it's funded, I think as Board of Trustees, we can come up with creative ways to do that. Maybe we do not need an Economic Development Commission. We can call it whatever it is. But I want to begin the talk, the discussion, and be more proactive in cleaning up our strip malls, finding ways to fill the empty slots, pushing for repair buildings, parking lots, and so on. Just cleaning things up so we do look like we're the #1 village in the city of Illinois or in the state of Illinois based on Money Magazine. Again, the mayor's office did not see this as a problem, citing some statistic that we only have a 7% vacancy. I do not know if that 7% number is good or bad or indifferent, but if you live in that area or that you have that eyesore in front of you every time, it doesn't really matter if it's 7% or 97%. I guess just what I'm trying to say is I would like to see us start working on these issues. I think they're important to our town, and I don't know as a new trustee how to begin that work, and I'm more than willing to be open for guidance and help in whatever the case may be. I think we need to start showing more and more leadership on what goes on and takes place in this town. Outside of that, I do want to mention that the Bolingbrook Lions Club did a great job, and about 10 days ago, they put up a donation box in front of the BRAC for eyeglasses, cell phones, hearing aids, contact lenses, and so on. And it's a great opportunity for people to donate items that they don't have or don't use anymore for people that can't afford and could very benefit from these types of things. So Lions, good job. Also on August 11th, the Bolingbrook Rotary Club is hosting their second annual 9-hole golf outing at Mountain Ridge Golf Course. And we're looking for golfers and sponsors. And if you're interested, you can see me afterwards. Thank you.
No, we have no executive session this evening, so a motion to adjourn is in order. So moved. Second. Motion by Trustee Reynolds, second Trustee Lawler. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. We stand